Today, our apprentice Dennis is going to be refinishing, front bumper on a blue Ford Ranger. You can see here it has some minor scuff marks and some sufficient enough that it actually broke the paint. And we have some other scuff and chip marks here as well. So what he's doing now is, before we begin, he's going to tape off everything that needs to be covered, and then we're going to start the sanding. And we're going to start the sanding before we actually paper it, so we can wipe off the car and make sure it's clean enough in this instance before we paper it. Because if we paper it prior, and if the paper gets full of dust and other debris after we finish painting and clearing the car, that paper could create extra dust and particles that fall right back on our freshly new painted and cleared bumper. So first we're going to go ahead and tape it off, do all of our hand work, sanding and prep work, make sure everything is clean and smooth, and then we'll paper it before we put on the paint and clear. Okay, so now Dennis is sanded down and smoothed out all the chip marks and scrapes on the bumper. He started with a 180 grit sandpaper on the DA. Everything is relatively smooth and feathered out. Now we're going to go ahead and put the paper on the car to protect the headlights and the rest of the body frame against primer. We're getting ready to prime everything. Sand the primer down gently with 400 on the salt pad on the DA. Smooth it out and see if we have any other imperfections that we need to fill in. And then hopefully get ready for painting. Okay, the car's been papered off. Dennis has primed it for a second time. While he's waiting on the second coat of primer to dry, he's scuffing the bumper with a red scuff pad. Scuff it up just enough to dull it up so it's kind of white and chalky. This would also help with paint and clear adhesion. You have to dull down the surface to allow new paint and products to adhere to the old. Old paint does not like to let new products in. Everything looks nice and smooth, and a good scuff and sanding when dulling up the finish, the original finish, will give you a nice finish when you add on the new paint and clear coat. So you have to dull it down to bring that shine back up. Everything's been prepared. Now Dennis is cleaning off the bumper with the Prep All wax and grease remover to get anything that's on the bumper that could contain any silicone, dirt, debris, cleaning agents, anything that could have been sitting there, mold, that can interact with our paint and our clear coat. So you clean it off the first time, then you go back with a clean towel over everything and wipe it dry. Clean off any residue. If you don't clean off any residue or all the residue when you start to paint, then it can show through the paint and the clear, or you have to spend more paint covering that up, which could diminish your finish. It won't look as smooth and flawless everywhere. Then also when clearing, if you don't clean it off well and you leave a lot of buildup of residue from cleaning, when you clear over it, you'll see that underneath the surface. Now we're about ready for paint. So now Dennis is applying the paint. He's going in even strokes back and forth, keeping his wrist straight, easing off the trigger in each direction. 2 passes and then a 50 to 75% overlap. Moving his body with the spray gun so he can keep a direct angle on everything and make sure everything is covered. Not too close, but not too far away. So the paint goes on nice and even without any ripples. The paint we use is Diamond. Flash is pretty quick. It's a warm day today, about 75 degrees. He started with his primer areas first. You always want to start with your primed areas first to make sure you have enough paint to cover the damaged areas. Once the paint dries, you can double check it to make sure everything is actually covered. Once the paint flashes and dries, use your existing paint to blend into the rest of the bumper. To make sure you have a nice, even top coat and everything matches or blends correctly, depending on where the damage is actually located. Alright, so now everything is covered. What we're going to do is, we're going to let that dry and flash for a minute, give it a second coat, and then prepare it for clearing. So now the bumper has been cleared. First coat is clear. Let that pack up. See how it turns out, and then we'll run another clear